So welcome everybody to our next session at Security Buyer Live. For this innovator interview session, I am joined by Rahul Yadav, the Chief Technology Officer for Milestone Systems. And in this interview, we're going to take a look at some of the biggest trends and challenges facing the video security market right now. So Rahul, thank you so much for joining me for this session. I really appreciate your time. Just to start, could you please introduce yourself and give us a little insight into your background and the history of Milestone?
Sure. So thanks, Rebecca, for having me. I'm Rahul Yadav. I'm a CTO at Milestone. So as far as my background goes, I started in Milestone exactly a year ago, where I'm coming from a similar role in a broadcast media company called TV2 Denmark, where I have been leading their product and technology organization. And if I'll go back in my career has been very much about building, transforming, and leading tech and product organization in B2C settings, but also in B2B organizations. And this actually goes to 5 different industries. And now security and surveillance is the last one that I'm here at Milestone. As I said, I joined Milestone a year ago, and a brief things about Milestone is that Milestone, we are number one video management software in EMEA and APAC, where we serve our customers across the globe. We are a company that has been born 26 years ago in Denmark. So we have our headquarters in Denmark. We were started by 2 gentlemen, John Blem and Henrik Fribo, who used their knowledge and expertise in financial data to image data processing. And that's when Milestone was born in 1998. We went from analog to IP, entering the digital video recorder era. And in 2002, we launched what we call open platform, which is one of the biggest, I would say, value proposition of Milestone. We were doing open platform before the world knew what open platform is. And in 2005, we launched our first SDK, where we offer our APIs and SDKs to the world and to the technology partners to innovate on top of our core platform, which is Expertend. So that's a brief of Milestone. And today, Milestone, we are roughly 1,300 colleagues all across the globe, where we have products that actually serve the industry and that we serve into.
Well, thank you for giving that kind of rich heritage, I suppose, of Milestone. It's great to always hear the humble beginnings of large companies. And obviously, you've had a very diverse and experienced career as well. So, I'm sure your knowledge is, absolutely, incomparable. So thank you. And just to provide an overview and some context to this interview, I suppose, I wanted to establish, obviously, the context around what we're going to be discussing. So in your opinion, what are the biggest trends that you see taking center stage in 2024?
Yeah, so I think, it will be, it will not be appropriate to say that AI is not on one of the top items on the list where. So definitely artificial intelligence is one of the biggest trends, which has, thanks to ChatGPT, which has really shown the world that how the diffusion of innovation can happen at a rapid pace. And 2023 was all about that. And that has really accelerated the whole transformation of different industries to use AI and generative AI technologies. So within that umbrella of AI, and when I look into the industry that we serve in, video analytics powered by AI, computer vision applications, again, powered by AI. And I will also say that IoT, Internet of Things, which is very much, will give rise to AI on the edge and also computing on the edge. So AI, I believe, is one of the biggest trends out there. Second trend in the industry is cloud. The adoption of cloud, but also adoption of cloud-related technologies is going to be a big piece as well. And then I think finally, which is for us, is a very important pillar, which is also a trend which is happening in the industry, is about responsible technology, where Milestone already has quite a position out there in terms of what we want to achieve and what we want to do and how we want to position ourselves So it's not only about how you innovate, but also how you innovate responsibility. So responsible technology is the third trend that I would say shaping our industry.
Definitely. And obviously we're going to touch on cloud technology, responsible technologies in just a short while. But I wanted to hover on AI because obviously, as you said, we can't talk about trends without talking about AI. And it's not so much that AI is a new phenomenon, but it's more that it's taken not just our industry but all industries by storm. Like you mentioned, that kind of surge in generative AI and the use of that in public domain as well. So to see that as being is quite phenomenal in terms of that AI revolution. But what is your perspective on the future impact of AI on video security sector? And also, should we be concerned, or excited, or both?
Yeah. So I think let me start with, I think so AI in a video sector, right? Video surveillance sector. If you really go back to the basics, right? AI can be used to extract actionable insights by combining the video data and the other types of data that there through the other sensory data that we can have. And this is really where I think AI has a huge potential and power to create that actionable insight, to make the industry much more efficient, but also smarter. Not only the industry, but actually the customer that we serve into the industry. But it's also important to state that in my view, we are not removing people out of the equation when it comes to AI. So in fact, people will be the center of this transition that we're going to go through. They need to verify the insights that will be, predicted or prescribed by AI, and make sure that the humans are there so that we make informed decisions, but also have an element of intuition and human experience, which is super relevant as well. And then I think as far as the impact goes, AI, and by the way, Milestone strategy is that we would like to be a data-driven video technology software company out there in and beyond security. So AI and data-driven video technology, in my mind, will continue to create new opportunities in this space. As this evolves, I would say it's important that we continue to consider things like, the evolution of video analytics software. Synthetic data is going to be another big piece, which will actually enable the industry very much in terms of training models, in terms of making model more accurate. But also, I believe edge AI has a huge potential as well. But as I said earlier as well, this is not only about AI using innovative way. It's also about how do we use AI in a responsible way. So I'm not concerned actually about the threat that AI may pose. What I think what we need to do is we need to be very cautious. We need to be very mindful, and we need to make sure that we leverage AI in a responsible way. That means we actually, in Milestone, our position is that we are welcoming regulations. We really think it's so important that the regulatory bodies and the governments, they should really regulate the technology in a way where they really set the clear guardrails and the guidelines so that the technology companies like Milestone can actually follow that and then use technology for a greater good.
Definitely. And just quickly to hover on that topic that you've just kind of summarized there. Obviously, we're talking about innovation within the realms of guardrails, making sure that we're innovating within a protected space and a responsible space. And with responsibility comes, regulations and for the manufacturer and the end user. And previously in technology, typically the end user is held liable for how they use that technology, as opposed to the manufacturer. But we're seeing new regulations come in, for example, with the EU AI Act. And hopefully after that, some sort of regulations around in the US and other parts of the world as well. But that's bringing responsibility back onto the manufacturer. How do you think this impacts, technology providers?
Yeah, so I would say that it impacts them, so that they really need to look into the entire value chain. So, and again, I can tell you, I think I can share what Milestone has been thinking when we talk about responsibility, and this will also be applicable to manufacturer. You don't need to, companies and organizations who works in this space they need to think responsibility through the entire value chain, the value chain of the entire product that they do. So that means you need to think responsibility. I think in Milestone we call it responsibility by design. So meaning that you need to really left shift on responsibility. You need to think responsibility from the early phase of design to development to test to use, but also I would even say that to go to further to make sure that the product is not sold to the entities that might abuse the technology, but at the same time also make sure the product is used in the right way. So I would say that this really cut across the entire value chain of the industry. So that means, of course, it will also affect manufacturers, but also software vendors like us.
Definitely. And it's important to know that we don't want to hinder innovation because, bad actors can innovate just as quickly, if not quicker than we are. So we need to make sure that we just do it in the appropriate way. And I love that phrase, responsible by design. And I think I've just found my title. So thank you for that. But just to move on slightly, can you elaborate on how data is integral in the video surveillance and analytics space, and what role do actionable insights play?
Yeah, so I think this is another, as I said also that, we are data-driven, video technology software company. So advanced data analytics that can predict what's happening in the video, but also actually generate actionable insights on this information, right, is going to be a big play, right? So that's why data plays a big role in surveillance. So it's not only about watching and storing video now, right? It's about really extracting situational awareness out of that, and then acting into actionable insight is going to be a big thing. Because AI-enabled software can learn based on patterns and behaviors, what is expected, what is expected out of a given situation, for example, right? And it can also highlight, anomalies, for example, and detect specific behaviors. These insights can help humans to make more informed decisions. But also ultimately improve performance in the security industry, which is what is needed, right? And at the same time, synthetic data is also very vital, right? So when we talk about the role of data, the amount of data that you can use to train your AI and your models, and this is where synthetic data will be very crucial, because then we can really use the data without without really going into specifics of, because, the whole data privacy, masking, all of that is a big challenge, right? And make sure that, we have a take in Milestone where we will only train models based on ethically sourced data, where we can actually track lineage, right? It's very clear. So synthetic data is very pivotal to, and that means once we have that, and once we have the models, and applications do that, we can actually interpret video scenes accurately. And large amount of accurately labeled training data will be required to actually build more accurate models. And because this data is artificially generated, especially the synthetic data, it both mitigates bias issues, but also ensures diversity into the training data. And because it is not sourced from the real world, it also eliminates any privacy concerns for individuals.
True. I think, that point about bias and non-biased data and how you can feed that algorithm correctly is definitely one of the kind of the biggest issues at the moment that we're facing in terms of more so in biometrics and facial recognition side of the market, and how you can use technologies and AI to kind of mitigate that as well in pseudonymization, for example. I think if we get into that topic and I start going more, we're going to go down a rabbit hole and be talking for hours. So I'll move on. But I do agree, it's definitely a huge point, on this topic. But in terms of an open platform, obviously you said earlier that that's what Milestone kind of is founded upon, those values. But an open platform creates scalability and future proofing for end users, which has huge benefits, not just not just in terms of innovation, but also in kind of sustainability. But is this type of technology interoperable with other manufacturers' products as well as your own technology? Because we hear that we have an open platform, but it's not necessarily able to integrate with other types of technology.
Yeah. So actually, one of the strengths that Milestone has is that we support the amount of devices we support in terms of interoperability. We have 13,000 devices we support on the platform. 13,000. Probably this is maybe the single most company out there which actually supported many amount of devices on our VMS. So that is, and this has been thanks to an open platform where one side we wanted to provide an open platform. That means we also make sure that different devices can be supported on the platform. And we also, our approach has always been that we wanted to provide equal citizen right to every single device manufacturer on our platform, meaning that they can use our APIs, they can use the standard drivers, and they can actually integrate with our product, right? So it's very clear. And then, of course, I think as you alluded to in your question, is that openness is great. It's also great to create bespoke solutions so that you actually have best of breed technologies on top of it, where our partners can use our core product, which is our X-Protect product, and then they can really have different technology partner solutions and really create a bespoke solution for our customers, which is the freedom we want to give to our partners, but also to our customers. But at the same time, that doesn't come for a lot of our, if you see a lot what's happening in the industry is that a lot of our peers in the industry, they're going with end-to-end solutions, where there is a bigger lock-in for the customers. And this is where Milestone come and differentiate, saying that, no, we will be open, but at the same time, we will also be very user-friendly. So we provide end-to-end experience through our technology partner, and we can solve different bespoke needs, but we'll still be very open. And that's very important. We want to give that freedom of choice to our customer, because we believe this is very vital for us and the use cases that we serve. And this is very fundamental to our business. And this is also one of our key unique selling proposition as an organization.
I mean, it's definitely a shared ethos with, what we kind of advocate for here at Security Buyer as well. One of our biggest partners, Morpeth, for example, who obviously put in all the interoperability standards, globally. But I think what's incredibly key when we talk about interoperability is, we've had this discussion where we're talking about AI and cloud technology and analytics and this rapid evolution of technology that we're experiencing and have experienced for a number of years now. You can't get an end-to-end solution now which is unable to integrate new technologies. How do you know that down the line, as a business owner, that down the line in 5 years that you don't need to integrate, that you might need to integrate biometrics or integrate, move to the cloud or, integrate a new access control or, any of these kind of different options of integrating new technology. If you don't have the platform to enable you to do that, the technology to enable you to do that, you're having to overhaul your entire system and
exactly.
Replace every single part rather than replacing a particular section. And you're stuck in that kind of, that daisy chain of integration. So I think, for me personally, I think I'm a huge advocate. I was at ISC West last year at the PSIA and JOS Controls Peacock credentials, whatever you call it, kind of drinks reception, I suppose. And being able to, on my own phone, open different access control or remotely access different video surveillance solutions from all these different providers. I think that's a huge benefit for the future. And then obviously, we're about to now move on to, the user-friendly side of trends. And, we're seeing a huge shift towards mobile credentials and remote access, and all of that is benefiting the user. So interoperability is hugely integral to that aspect. So I suppose on that notion, how important is user-friendliness as a trend in video technology today? And what does this look like? Yeah,
I think this is very interesting. I think, from my background in very much D2C organizations before, I think somehow we feel that as a whole, as an industry, we can do much more on being more customer-centric and more user-friendly. Simply because of how this industry has evolved over the years, is very much about. It was very much about functional side of the product was very crucial, right? So the product has been very functional. You have a lot of bells and whistles on the product normally to really cater for all sort of stuff. And this is somewhere I feel over the last decade or so, somewhere the user friendliness has not been enough focus for actually entire industry, I would say. And me coming from a very much of a D2C industries before, is very visible for me that there is a lot of low-hanging thing as an industry we can do. And same goes for Milestone, by the way, right? Where we already started our journey a couple of years ago, when we modernized our web client, our smart client, our mobile client, we already have refreshed a lot of those to really make it more user-friendly, make workflows more simpler. So I believe the user-friendliness moving forward is going to be vital. There are so much of there's so much of functionality that is offered on these products, and somehow it's going to be very crucial that we start talking about use cases. We talk about workflows. We need to make sure we also need to start talking about what kind of customer archetypes you're trying to serve and make those interfaces contextualized for them rather than functional interfaces, right? And I see the industry over the years is gonna pivot towards much more user friendliness and much more contextualized interfaces moving forward.
I definitely agree. And the last trend, obviously, that I wanted to touch upon as well is that everyone seems to be talking about the cloud, and its adoption is obviously skyrocketed in recent years. And it's not, once again, similar to AI. It's not like it's a new technology. Just a few years ago, everyone was like, "I will never move to the cloud." All of these issues, and now everybody's offering cloud or an edge or hybrid solutions. But it's not always the appropriate choice, depending on application or latency, location. But what role do you think cloud technology will play in the future of the industry?
Yeah, so I think it's going to play a very important role, but I think there are very differing school of thoughts here, right? And what we believe and what I truly believe for this industry and where Milestone is positioned, we believe the future will be hybrid. It's very clear with the amount of data that we deal with and the kind of use cases that we have and the history that industry has been coming from. I think it's very clear that hybrid will play a big role. I do recognize that there is a value of cloud-only provider, that bring to the market, right? For a smaller customer segment side, where you have a smaller few cameras and all of that. I think totally get that, but I don't think the world will go completely, especially in this industry, will go completely cloud, and hybrid is going to be the play. And then other thing which I also wanted to mention is that somehow my impression also is that somehow we feel as an industry that cloud is the nirvana that everyone want to achieve. And for me, what we talk about in Milestone is cloud for me is a means to an end. And it's not an end in itself, meaning that cloud brings a lot of cool stuff. When you develop cloud-based product technologies, it promotes a new way of working, how you work, the kind of skills you need, the kind of tools you need, the kind of processes you need as a software development organization, right? And all that good jazz that comes with cloud and working with cloud technologies, I think industry needs to really embrace and adopt. I'm completely on with that, right? Plus, also in some cases, cloud also brings a lot of innovation, right? Simply because there are a lot of stuff happening around cloud because of the big players out there, the cloud providers, where they actually offer a lot of stuff on the shelf on the cloud. And I think a lot of companies in the industry can actually use and leverage that. There is no doubt about it. So for me, it all comes down to the architecture of your product. If you architect your product in such a way, so you leverage the best of cloud, but also best of hybrid and on-prem, so that you provide the freedom of choice to your customer, so that you don't lock them to cloud-only solution or to an on-prem solution only. And that's why we say our point of view is that we see a world of hybrid. And I think with also AI, if I loop into a little bit more on that, AI will also be the edge AI. We believe we're gonna be play a bigger role as well moving forward. So yes, they're gonna be edge. They're gonna be AI on the edge. They're gonna be AI on a hybrid setup, standalone. But they're gonna also be AI on the cloud as well. And there's gonna be room for all the three. So your architecture needs to really support that and make sure that you leverage the best of cloud, but at the same time also get the cost efficiency that you can get by being on-prem as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even as we're a small publisher in terms of we are headquartered in on a farm actually in the middle of nowhere in Kent countryside, which is absolutely lovely. But and previously, we had a big server and all of that. Not quite as big as a huge data center, a huge server room. But it was only in the past year or so, I would say, that we actually had the opportunity to move to the cloud, and that was because our hybrid work setting had changed. If we were based full time in the office, we wouldn't have that ability because of the latency variations and difficulties where we're situated in such a remote area. So I think offering that kind of hybrid or the opportunity to, like you said, have that choice or when, where, and how, is definitely important. And like you said, imparting that knowledge of technology and the options available back to not just the user, but the installer and the integrator as well. There's so much technology happening at the moment that it's very easy for a customer to go to their installer. Oh, I've read this new technology here with this new camera. I want this. And the installer's like, oh, I don't know if it can work. So we need to impart that knowledge back into, those end applications to make sure that we're clear and we have that freedom. And I love that word, freedom of choice. Fantastic.
And also just to add here is also there are companies out there who are actually also looking into what they call cloud exit, right? So which is interesting, right? So which is where they were all born on the cloud. Every payload they had was on cloud, and they started to do their numbers, and they started to see that actually, if they move a lot of their payload in their own data centers, they probably will have a cost advantage of multiple of 2 or 3. So what we are also saying is that we should be mindful of both the worlds, right? That means, yes, you can leverage the best on the cloud, but also I think it all use case dependent, right? It's very much use case dependent. It's not either or, and that's why we have chosen to be the hybrid way forward.
Definitely. And just lastly on kind of cloud technology, can you just clarify and explain exactly what camera to cloud means?
Yeah. So cam to cloud means it's a process of where the physical video recording footage on the camera you directly upload on the cloud, and then all the processing and analysis happen on the cloud. So that means if you have a camera connected to the cloud directly, your footage directly goes to the cloud, and then all the actions and everything, all the processing and analysis of that happens there. And with the immense amount of data that being uploaded, of course, as you said in your example, the latency and the feeling of real time, that will become a challenge over time, right? And then I think this is where I see the role of VMS comes into play, where yes, cam to cloud has for certain use cases it's fantastic, I think, and we do support on our product called Kite, where we are supporting cam to cloud. But at the same time, we still believe that VMS plays a big role when you have petabytes of data coming in, where the video stream still needs to be stored for retrieval and review, where in some cases the incident management that you're doing in a video surveillance use case may span over multiple cameras. Then on VMS on-prem or VMS will come into play. And at the same time, the third kit could also be analytics. Analytics may need to be performed beyond the camera's availability, simply because either it requires a lot of processing power in real time. At the same time, it could also be that ability require across camera streams.
Definitely. Well, unfortunately, I think we're reaching the end of the interview, but I'm sure that we could continue talking for hours, and we probably bore the rest of the audience.
Yeah.
But just to finish, finally, have you got any final thoughts that you would like to add just before we depart?
Yeah. So I think one thing which I would like to mention is that I think we all know that AI is driving the major changes in surveillance industry, and in parallel, responsible technology, as I mentioned earlier, is an emerging key trend. So tech companies are under pressure not only to innovate quickly, but also innovate responsibly, especially when it comes to how to use AI and video technology into security and surveillance industry. So it's no longer about just security. It's important that we also strike a balance with privacy, with bias, with ethical consideration, because we need to remember that we are building and creating product with people first mindset. And I think that's what I would like to leave you with.
Definitely. Responsible by design. A great way to end. Thank you, Rahul. I really appreciate the time you've taken to speak with me. And if anybody has any further questions or would like to discuss the future landscape of video security even further, obviously, please don't hesitate to reach out to Rahul directly, either on the platform or through Milestone. And see you in the next session. Thank you, Rahul.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca.